Last name and spell it out for me.
Sergeant First Class Flynn, Flynn.
And where are you from?
From Oklahoma City originally.
That's your hometown?
That's my hometown.
And tell me a little bit about yourself.
35 years old, been in the Army just over 16 and a half years. Been married to my high school sweetheart. We have 4 biological children of our own, 2 adopted children, and just recently took guardianship of my niece. So full household of 7 kids, 4 dogs, and yeah, we're a pretty busy household.
Want to get into the military?
Originally, joining the military was not in the plan like most. I went down a hard path in which my mother actually kind of made the decision for me. We talked to some recruiters. I come from all my family is military, where my great-grandfather was Marines, grandfather was Navy, my mom was Coast Guard, and my pops was Air Force. So I made my rounds talking to all the recruiters and went Army. With all the grandfather said, join the Navy, you get a nice comfy bed, and Marines are the best. I decided to go Army. It kind of completed that pie of the family tradition. But I had went down a wrong road of hanging with the wrong crowd, and I was looking at maybe even doing, I had that option to go to war, go to jail. I mean, it was in the heart of 2002, right after 9/11, and it worked out for the best. Originally thinking I was going to do my 3 years and go back to doing the same thing I was doing, and look at me now 16 and a half years later. Married to my high school sweetheart. We have 4 biological children of our own. We recently adopted 2 of our foster children. We got on to fostering about 3 or 4 years ago. Had about 17 children go through our home and ended up adopting 2. Just this year I took guardianship of my niece after my sister passed earlier in the year. So a busy household, 7 kids, 4 dogs, and we're always on the go. So the time for extracurricular activities and hobbies are kind of slim, but we make the best of it.
So what do you like to do with your kids then for fun?
Really, it's with the kids, it's just staying at home. I mean, I took time off here recently, and that's all we did. We went and got the pools and the slip and slides, and we hung out at the house and ate watermelon and played in the pool in the front yard and the backyard with the kids and the dogs.
Okay, cool. So you said how many dogs you have?
4 dogs.
Man, and you're okay with all of that?
Oh yeah, I like to stay busy.
Does your wife stay home or does she work?
No, my wife works as well.
Where does she work at?
She works for Department of Human Services. She's a child support specialist.
Oh, okay. So, is that how y'all got started doing the fostering then?
No, she didn't start doing that till we moved out here to Northwest Arkansas. And so before, when we were living in Oklahoma City, she was working in education. She was a paraprofessional. Worked with special needs within elementary, high school, so on. And then she took over as the head cheer coach in high school secretary before we left. And then coming out here, she didn't know where she was going to go. She tried to get back into education, but everywhere seemed to be full. And so she finally landed that job with Department of Human Services, and she really likes it.
That's cool. So did you have to do any wartime?
Oh yeah, I've been deployed twice, both times to Iraq, back in 2005 and then 2007 and 8.
Where were you at in 7 and 8?
7 and 8, we were in the, where were we? We were stationed out of Camp Liberty, but we were mainly did our stuff down out there in the Mansour district, kind of close to the green zone.
Okay.
Originally, I came in as a 19 kilo, so M1A1 armor crew member. Loved it. There's no experience other than riding around on an 80-ton beast, leveling buildings, and.
So is that what you did your first deployment?
Yes.
And you were in Iraq?
Mm-hmm.
Solder City?
Iraq, Solder City.
Okay, cool.
Which they did not like us because the tanks didn't maneuver down their streets very well.
Mm-hmm. So now that you've been in, so you basically were forced to get in, and you kind of went with it because it was your better option. So, but now that you've been in, like, does the military and the Army, does it mean something different to you now?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's a complete 180, and I can honestly say it probably didn't hit home until about year 4, year 5. You know, originally it was, okay, I'm going in, I'm gonna just be a little snot that's not going to listen to authority, and it didn't hit home till about year 4, year 5. And that's whenever I figured out that this is taking care of me, and this is taking care of my wife and, at the time, 2 kids, and that long-term, 20 years retirement, I'm going to be better off than going back to the streets and doing what I was doing. And so...
You're probably not even thinking about that.
No.
In your mindset.
No, and it's just the same with college. I didn't start working towards my degrees till about year 7 or 8. And now here I have my associates. I've got my bachelor's degree. I'm working on my master's. And so it's all kind of fallen into place properly.
And all that's paid for?
All of it,
your
yeah.
master's
All of it. I haven't paid a dime. I even got paid to go to college.
That's good. So what are you going to have your master's in?
I'm working on my master's in forensic accounting.
What does that mean?
Forensic accounting? So I weighed my options because I have a bachelor's degree in investigative forensics, and my end plan after retirement was FBI or CIA. And then I went to an interview, and I come to find out that retire at 20 years, receive my pension, and go work for the FBI, making the same amount that I was making before I got out, or get some kind of background in accounting and be a forensic accountant making $140,000 a year. And so I had to backtrack a little bit to get my undergraduate in forensic accounting, which it all carries towards my master's. So
what do you actually do in forensic accounting?
it's a mix of accounting, so finance and accounting, crunching the numbers, accounting balance statements and all that, with the CSI piece of it, of investigating, with fraud investigations and all the other good jazz.
That actually sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, so I got to learn the criminal law, auditing procedures. So even if the FBI doesn't work out, then I still have all the education to get my CPA, which is still a good living. I have a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, 12, 8, 2 6s, and a 3.
2 6s, so they're twins?
No, I've got my niece. My niece and my
yeah,
son.
I forgot. So the fostering one, and you said you went through like 17 foster kids.
Mm-hmm.
How's that been for you?
It was a fun experience. The first one that we took on, we got him when he was 15 months old, so he had just started walking. The little guy was awesome. He was like my dude. Like, I have 4 biological daughters, and so jumping into the foster system, it was no girls, only boys, no older than our youngest, which our youngest was 5 at the time. And so he was, like I said, he was 15 months old. We got him a month later. We got a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old little girl. And then we had them 3 during pretty much the whole time. And then we took on, weekend visits, week visits of them just looking for more permanent placement. There was one little girl that we had her for about 2 weeks. They found a placement for her. It didn't work out. She'd come back to us for the weekend. They found her a new placement. It didn't work out there. And it got to the point where, hey, Flynn family, you might be it. She might need to stay with you. And it was like, no, we got these 3. It's already a handful. And so she bounced back and forth quite a few times until she finally found the right home. And then my little guy, he ended up going back to his mother. And then that kind of broke my heart with the whole fostering thing. And then I said I was done at that point. And then with the 2 that we adopted, it was, okay, it's time to adopt. And I was in, not denial, but disagreement, I guess. Because I'd already had my heart broken. I was like, no, we're not doing it. And so it took about 3 or 4 months before my wife convinced me that it was probably in the kids' best interest that we needed to, look for them. So I ended up giving them, we adopted. And then since moving out here, I've talked to my wife about, let's do the foster thing again. We have a house, it's big enough, but we're looking more at the 15 to 17 range, just because there's more teenagers there are in the foster system than the babies, because everybody wants the babies. Whereas these teenagers have nowhere to call home. They end up graduating high school, and then they go off to the real world with nothing. They've got nobody to call for support, nobody to come home to. Oh, I didn't make it in college, and I dropped out, and I couldn't afford it. They've got nowhere to call home. So that's kind of why we're leaning more towards that again. It's just not moving as fast as it was the first time.
Yeah. So what do you feel like your inspiration behind all that is?
It was, so me and my wife, well, me and my family, we attend Life Church. And so we're getting a location up here in Northwest Arkansas in Rogers. But when we were in Oklahoma City, which attended out there, and it was just, they had a message series. It was called How to Neighbor. And it was all about fostering and adopting and how you could better the community. And so it was, my wife started it as more of, this is a calling. Did it not touch you? Did it not reach out to you? And at first I was like, no, it didn't. But while I was at the gym, I snuck into listening to the messages again, and it kind of did click. It kind of did hit. So that's what kind of pushed us to it, I guess. I mean, it was sort of like a calling, and so we went with it. I mean, the agency that we went through, they're a Christian organization that's partnered with Life Church, so that's kind of how we got into it.
Perfect.
Don't use the Army as a last resort. Don't think that you have life's plan figured out. Because if you use it as a last resort in the long run, after you graduate high school, 3, 4, 5 years from now, you very well, due to qualifications, may not qualify. We get it all the time where individuals come walking in and they're like, yep, I graduated high school, I went to trade school, I've been working for the last 3 years, and it's not what I wanted to do. I thought about joining high school, but I didn't. And at that point, you lose those skills that you're taught in high school as far as, you know, the ASVAB qualification goes. If it's on your mind and you want to do it, it's better to take that leap and do it now instead of waiting until it's not an opportunity for you, because it happens every day.
Mm.